Big changes are coming in 2026, and our parents and students deserve clarity. My name is Brian Roberts, and I would like to welcome you to the Debt Squad podcast brought to you by NSU. In our podcast, throughout the episodes, we will cover assorted topics related to financial aid, borrowing, and things that you may need to know to financially set yourself up for success from matriculation, not just here at NSU, but from universities in general. We'll have esteemed guests join us who are experts in their rightful areas, and we want to get into the questions that we know you at home and you that are listening are interested in knowing. Again, welcome to our podcast. We hope you stay tuned. You know, we think about the initial borrowing, let's get through school, but then there is the repayment portion after, or even those implications if you do happen to align with a program that qualifies for some sort of forgiveness, partial, full, whatever the case may be. So just to make sure that our viewers are clear on it, this year, if you already have loans, well, I'm a deadline person, so in my head. Yeah. So if I have loans that predate 2014, I'm already stuck into the income base, the 15%, the 25 years. If they're any time between 2014 and now, I'm probably, if I am income based, if I'm not just the general, repayer, there's three types of income driven repayment plans that I'm currently on. So that's income-based, pay-as-you-earn, or income contingent. Correct. We talked about income contingent and pay-as-you-earn. Those options are going away. And you said 3 years?
July 1st, 2028.
July 1st, 2028. Those will no longer be options for anyone to get on. But then July 1st, 2026, we're going to see the introduction of the RAP plan.
That's what we're hoping. That's what they're telling us.
Okay. And once the RAP plan is introduced, for those new borrowers, they're not going to have the option at all for the pay-as-you-earn or the income contingent.
Well, so it gets even a little bit more confusing there, because if you have to have all of your borrowing done before July 1st, 2026 to qualify for income-based, to be grandfathered into income-based. So if you're currently in your program right now, and you take out a new loan for fall of 2026, when you graduate and you repay, you're not grandfathered into income-based anymore. You only have, so it's not just for new borrowers, it's anybody who borrows new money after July 1st, 2026 is only eligible for RAP or the standard plan.
But for those who have completed their borrowing, so you've either matriculated or maybe this was just the end of your borrowing journey, you must have completed that borrowing prior to July 1st in order to still qualify for the existing program.
Correct.
New borrowers, or those who continue borrowing after July 1st, your options then would be the RAP plan. Hopefully that's when it will be introduced, at least by then, but the RAP plan or just general borrowing with general terms.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, so like one of the things that people don't understand, and they should understand this, right, is your ability to repay that loan, right, is it's such an important factor to, deciding, not so much deciding your degree, but actually taking the loans in the first place to finish that degree. When we talk about money, right, for instance, we have these concepts when people are buying their house, and houses are the easiest things for people to understand because you have to live in one, right? Now, 65% of Americans actually own their home, and you wouldn't think that by hearing the things that you hear out there, right? But only 14% of them own their own home outright. People owning a home is not the end-all be-all, though. A lot of times, renting is a lot more cost-effective than owning a house, because when you own, the air conditioner breaks, you got to fix it. Yeah. When you're renting, the air conditioner breaks, you call the landlord.
Yeah.
Right. So, you have a lot of flexibility. Now, when you're buying something to profit from, and that's what you're doing with a college degree, you're buying something to profit, right? You have to have the ability to service that loan, so you have to be able to repay the mortgage. And you have to, when we talk about what the value is, well, what can you resell it for? A house is only worth $500,000 if you have somebody on the other side willing to pay you the $500,000 to get it, right? So there are places in Boca where you can get a house that's valued at $800,000 and you could buy it for $200,000. Well, how does it make sense? It's worth $800,000. But you only have to pay $200,000 for it, right? Well, because it's on a community where you have to pay $75,000 in cash to join the golf club. You can't buy the house. Well, who has an extra 75 grand sitting around to join the golf club? So the price is reduced, and all of a sudden it makes less sense to do it, right? We're talking about student loan repayment, right? Where we're talking about, you have to think of things in those same terms. Okay, so like, all right, it's worth a certain amount, but am I going to get that certain amount on the back end? Am I going to get less than that? How do I service this? Now, a big mistake when people buy houses. They buy the $600,000 house in the neighborhood where everything's worth $400,000. It's way too big. They have to service too much. They have to clean the place. They have to maintain the place, and it's bigger than they need. And they have to wait years before the house is worth what they paid for it. When people that are successful buy the $400,000 house in the neighborhood where everything's worth $600,000, they have to fix it up anyway. But now the money they put in is going to get it towards the value. So my whole point in saying all of that, is know how you're going to repay the loan before you ever take it. Know what those repayment terms are. Have a strategy so that, okay, the degree might not pay, the job on the other side might not pay exactly what those costs are, but because I have this program available, I'm not actually paying these costs. I'm actually going to pay considerably less than those costs. And it's going to and the way that I repay allows more money in my pocket to do other things to make myself profitable. Okay. It's not just making the money; it's what you do with it. It's not just borrowing the money; it's what you do with it. Right. So if you have all these things lined up and you know exactly how this is going to work for you before you take out that first loan, well, you're the king of the world. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to work out exactly. Not only is everything going to work out the way that you need it to, but you're going to profit from the system. If you don't know any of it, you're just taking out the money and you're just spending the money. No matter what that job pays, you're not going to be able to repay. They're just in general money, in psychology of money, there's what they call the hedonistic treadmill, lifestyle creep. And what that is as your salary goes up, you're making more money. You start nickel and diming yourself to death with all these stupid little things, the subscriptions, all the little charges, people start buying boats and crazy things, right? So now all of a sudden you're making more money than you've ever made, but your bills are higher than they've ever been, and you're still broke even though you're making money. Who's in a better spot? Somebody making $100 grand a year with $50,000 worth of bills, or somebody making, or with $90,000 worth of bills, or somebody making 50 grand a year with 10,000 of bills? The second guy is in a better position. He has 4 times the purchasing power, even though he makes half the income, right? We have to think about that the same way when we're borrowing, and this is what strategic borrowing is. We only take out what we need to cover the costs on the things that are going to be the most profitable. Now, if the repayment system is favorable, where we can borrow more, and we could use the excess to our advantage, then do it. But if the system is set up where you could borrow more, but you can't use it to your advantage because you're a spender, whatever it is, don't borrow more money. But have this all planned and mapped out. Because there are no changes to the repayment system, and there's no changes to the ability to bring in the funding for undergraduate. Your undergraduate years are the time to figure all this out. We have a program, and we're expanding that program to teach our students all of this. So not only are you going to be able to come in for your undergraduate, but we're going to show you the things you need to. Our university is going to show you the things you need to learn in order to set up your master's degree, so you're successful there too. Not a lot of schools do it.
So it's kind of like it's a pipeline of success. So hey, come, and it's like not just, of course, for the education portion, but hey, the financial management. We understand that you may need these fundings or these other resources to get through your program. So let us walk you through that. And I think that that's something phenomenal, like you said, that NSU does that not other institutions may pour as much resource or dedicated time into. So definitely people like you, hats off to you for it, because like you said, I know you look at the numbers every day, all day. So I know that can't be easy all the time, but it really does help our students as they're coming in learn how to manage and matriculate successfully through it. And it's not just go get a degree and just kind of a pass off. It's more like, hey, let's help walk you through life until you're able to really sustain on your own.
And so like earlier I mentioned how one of the problems with the system, with the current system, and why they're making these changes, right, is now it's a financial knowledge things. Think about this, right? The single most important thing that you need to learn in terms of math is how to exchange money, right? We don't teach anybody anything about finance. Now, the state of Florida is finally made that where you can't graduate high school without taking some of these courses. And the curriculum that I've seen are amazing, right? But you're taking 18-year-old kids. It was different when I was a kid. When I was a kid, when I was 16, I didn't know anybody that didn't have a job. And most of us were paying bills with that money. If you wanted something, you had to work and pay for it, or your parents weren't giving it to you.
Yeah.
That's not so much the case now. You have a lot of kids that don't work and they don't have that connection to that paycheck. They don't see the taxes that are coming out. So they don't see how much more they have to work to earn that, and then how quickly it all goes.
Yeah.
Right. So then they're with no experience in the financial world. They're not taught any of these things in school. They're expected to make a decision at 18 years old that's going to affect the rest of their lives. And then they're saddled with tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt to do that. And they don't have any understanding of what that entails. Now, we have example after example after example of celebrities, of pro athletes, of people who are extremely wealthy, who end up completely broke because they don't modify their spending habits. They don't understand how money works. They don't have money doesn't move through the system. Yeah,
financial literacy is so important. It's essential. No matter, a lot of people think the more I make, it'll just solve that, and that's not inherently how it works. It is, if you don't understand how it works.
Exactly. It is an essential. It is one of the few essential life skills, and we don't teach it. And another misconception that people have about all this is that even if your parents had money, like we're supposed to be taught these things by our folks, but even people who come from money, a lot of times, very often, I have conversations with these people. I talk to them, so I know this firsthand. They don't actually know how the money moves through the system either. They have an advisor who they trust, and their advisor does all the work. They just make sure they're making the money, and they give them the money, but they have no idea how it's happening behind the scenes. So even the people that are profiting and are doing well financially don't have the actual knowledge to pass on to their kids. What about everyone else who isn't well off financially and they're just struggling to get by? And how are they going to teach their kids these things? So we, as a society, have failed our populace by not teaching them the most essential skills they need in order to be well off as they go through life. So at NSU, right, and this is something that's going to be essential for every college. Teaching your undergraduate population how to manage their money. Now, at NSU, we have our debt squad. That's where I work. What we do is we will take one-on-one appointments with students where you come in, you make an appointment with us. We will go over budgeting. Now, we talk about budgeting. Everybody talks about budgeting. They talk about the imaginary buckets. Budgets don't mean much for somebody who's never worked and don't know what that means.
Absolutely.
Recording your expenses is the first side of budgeting. That's doing your bookkeeping. Where is your money actually going? $5 a day in Starbucks adds up to $1,800 a year in coffee. Don't get me started on $12 lunches, right? But we don't record our expenses. Where is our money going all the time? Now, you constantly see apps all over the place now. Years ago, before I worked here, I did this for small businesses. I did a lot of books for small businesses. Now you have apps everywhere for free. Whatever your bank is, they have an app on your phone to track where your spending is. Are you paying attention to that? We have to start doing that. Now, we take one-on-one sessions where we teach individuals how to budget their money, how to record their expenses, how to manage their credit, what strategic borrowing. It's not just, using your student loan money for your tuition, also using your student loan money, if you have that extra Graduate Plus money, to buy the car instead of financing it through the dealership because you'll get a better deal, right? We'll help you. Like, I'm a trained life coach. I actually don't come at this from a financial perspective. I come at this from a life coaching perspective. So I take a holistic view at it your whole life. And what are your goals that you're trying to accomplish? Is the money that you're spending supporting those goals? Or is the money that you're spending taking you further away from those goals? So what are your values and how does your spending support those values? We help focus on that. The thing that really sets us aside from everyone else is that we go in, I make about 30 speeches a year where I go into the individual programs and I teach our students exactly how the student loan system works. And I have them come in for one-on-one appointments where I go over the student loan repayment system. And I look over their loans for them. I look over how much they borrowed, what they can expect to earn in their degree field. And I plot out a path specifically. You want to be on this plan, you're better off aggressively paying, or no, you're better off going over to 20 or 30 years. you're going to have a tax bill of this much. So you have to start preparing for that tax bill. You have to start putting money away for that. This is how much money you have to put away. Yeah. And I will actually go over with a student their entire loan history and what they're looking at in repayment terms and help them plot a path forward. And we do that for every student that's ever graduated from the university.
Wow.
If you take one class at Nova, you have access to me for the rest of your life.
Wow.
For free.
Wow.
Now, availability scalability winds up being an issue. It takes a particular skill set to be able to counsel people this way, right? Now, one of the things that you learn, and this is how we learn that nobody really knows personal finance, because in order for any of the advice that I give you to make sense, you have to understand personal finance, the rules, what people are supposed to do with their money. Yeah. And then we can explain to you, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how it works. This is how it moves through the system. Yeah, and this is how it's going to benefit you if you do this.
Exactly.
Right? Now we do that we normally get graduate students because they're the ones that are thinking about money.
Of course.
Most schools, once they're for undergraduate, they're not doing this. They figure graduate students are an adult, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We are teaching our graduate students these things.
Yeah.
We are expanding the program, so we're going to be getting more counselors to be able to reach anybody who wants to come in.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we are going to be doing a lot of things to make sure that our students are prepared more than any other student in the country.
That's awesome. So in addition, of course, you mentioned some of the counselors, you mentioned the debt squad. Are there any other services or resources that NSU provides?
We have an entire scholarship department that will go over your scholarships for your degrees and see what you qualify for, what you don't qualify for. They'll help you guide you through the page that I said earlier where you fill out your profile.
Yeah.
They'll help you out with that. We have, within the university, we have hiring services for after you're out, so that will help you go through your resume and make sure your resume is proper so you can go out and get that job.
Yeah.
So we offer a lot of services. Yeah. Now, for me personally, one of my favorite ones to do, because I go over any number of things. You have to meet the student where they're at, not where they should be.
Absolutely.
Right? And
that's important.
Right. So you really have to, what do you know? What don't you know? What do you need to know?
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things is when I get first years coming in with budgeting, specifically first year graduate students, because they're living out in the world. They're paying their rent, right? But they're also having to pay the tuition. They have loan money coming in. Maybe they have other money coming in from another job, but they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And they've never sat down and looked over their books. They've never done their books at all to know where they're spending. Mm-hmm. And then you start seeing where they, our impulses are the biggest things that kill our finances. Eating out is the biggest one. You're working all day, you're tired, right? Your friends call you, say, hey, let's go to Chili's. And you're like, yeah, let's go to Chili's.
Always.
So you spend $100 on something you made yourself for $8 at home, right? You do that 3 times a week and you're broke, right? The Starbucks is another big one. Target has Starbucks in them. So you go to Target for one thing, you come out with 10 packages and a Starbucks. You didn't buy the thing you needed, and so the average American spends $500 a month more than they make, all on credit cards, right? So when I sit down with a student for the first time, and for me, it's always better if they've gone over 90 days of their spending. When you're getting a bank loan, when you're getting a mortgage, the bank wants to see 90 days of what's going in and out of your bank accounts, because that gives you an idea of what your actual hardcore spending is all the time. So if I get somebody who knows this, and they've gotten that 90 days worth of their spending, and they come in with me with their Excel spreadsheet, and I go over it with them, and their eyes pop, like, oh my God, I can't believe how much money I'm spending at Starbucks, and look at all that Chili's I've been eating, right? So, and you start to really see it click.
Yeah.
Once that happens, then they really want to know, okay, well, like, what should I do with my credit cards?
Yeah.
What should I do? And that gets to be really exciting, because then you see for them, they start on that journey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The door's open now. So
exactly.
Now let's walk through,
Now for us, we're going to try to get more into I do a lot with the graduate schools. We're going to do more with the graduate schools. Awesome. On the undergraduate level, there are a lot more schools that have financial literacy programs at the undergraduate level than graduate school levels. We're going to be expanding where we get into those, where any undergraduate that wants any of these services has it available like this. Yeah. And they don't necessarily have to have the 90 days of the expenses. Come in the first time.
Yeah.
Let's go over what you don't know.
Yeah.
Let's get you, and then after the end of that first session, then you'll get your 90 days, and then come back to see us.
Yeah.
And then we go step by step, piecemeal. What do you need to know right now? What is the most important thing you need to know right now about money? Mm-hmm. And what do you have to be looking for? For most of our students, right? Very simple. Spend less than you make, invest what you save, right? It's not what you make, it's what you keep. Very simple stuff, right? But you should be you get at least a credit card. Every year take out a new credit card, but only spend on the credit card what you could afford to repay by the end of the month. College is a great time to build your credit, right? But it's an easy time to destroy it.
Yeah, I was going to say,
right?
have to be strategic about it.
You have to be smart about it. Those student loans, use the student loan money. It has an undergraduate, very favorable repayment terms on the federal student loan side. Use those federal student loans, but be careful about private loans and be careful about that private plus loan because the repayment terms are not as favorable. It's costing you more. Okay. Plus, interest is collecting the entire time that you're in school, so you're going to owe considerably more, right? So you want to start building your plans. Know what degree you're going for and what the job is on the other side. Have an idea of what you could borrow to pay for school and how you're going to repay that back. And then start managing your credit and then start learning how to record your expenses. If you do those things and you strengthen those muscles, you have your neural associations. Once it gets easy because you're doing it all the time, then you're set. And then you can get there after your first year, your freshman year of undergraduate. You can get so that when you're going to your sophomore year, you're a powerhouse when it comes to your money because you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Get an Acorns account. If you want to start learning how to invest, sign up for Acorns or a program like that on your phone, right? They have these things that they call roundups, where you get that credit card, you go and something costs you $6.87. They'll round up that 13 cents and they'll invest it into the market for you. When you're in college, you don't have the money to invest. You don't have the knowledge to invest. You don't know any of it, right? But you can start building up money for your retirement early just on rounding up your spare change. Take advantage of that. You don't have money to invest, but that is, that's fine because you're not taking anything out. You're not putting money into scams that you don't know about, but it's building up. There's now what we talk about, like how we're going to sustain our lives late into our years, right? Because like the life expectancy is 72 for men, 76 for, it's actually 81 for women and 76 for men now. It's actually gone up, right? But retirement age is 67 right now. It's going to be 70 for most kids that are in school. So you're going to have, but because of medical advancements, your average life expectancy keeps going up, right? So there's a good chance you're going to have 20 to 30 years of life after you're not working anymore. And you have to start learning how to manage your life right now, but also be able to put money away for those years when there's no more money coming in. But what they don't tell you is being a millionaire does not mean you have $1 million. It means all the things you own are worth $1 million if you sold them, right? But you can only take out 4% and to pay for your lifestyle, and then still keep those funds without running out of your money before you get older, right? So if you had $1 million in cash, that's only $40,000 a year, and then they tax you. So you're really looking at about $34,000 a year, right? So even being a millionaire is not so much money, right? Well, so if you want $100,000, if you get a job where you're getting paid $100,000, and you are, you need that much money coming in, you need $3 million in your retirement accounts by the time you retire. Well, if you put $100 a month starting at 20 years old into a 401k or some kind of retirement fund, by the time you retire, you'll have that $3 million. If you wait until you're 30, you had to put $300 a month to get the same $3 million at the end, and now all of a sudden you have to pay 3 times more because you waited that decade.
Wow.
Why wait? You're not investing, you're not putting money into 401k, but you are learning how the market moves by getting an app on your phone that's free, getting the credit card you need to build up your credit, using the roundup so they're investing money for you, and you'll watch the money grow over time, and all of a sudden, you'll start realizing by the time you graduate, just from rounding up, you have a couple of grand sitting in a bank account somewhere, so if you need it, you take it out. If you don't need it, you leave it in there, let it keep growing.
Thanks for listening to the Debt Squad podcast by NSU. If today's episode made you realize that you have a couple more questions or you're looking for more information, please understand that you are not alone. NSU is committed to helping its families and students navigate all of these changes and successfully accomplishing their goals in their academic careers. If you want more information, we encourage you to visit NSU's website for resources and updates. And also, please make sure that you subscribe to this podcast so that you don't miss any of the upcoming breakdowns that we have regarding this bill and others that may be like it. Thank you again for listening and hope to see you at our next episode.